The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, currently patrolling the streets of North Miami. Happy Wednesday to those of you watching this video. It's Wednesday as I'm shooting this video. Got my hoodie on, got the True School hoodie on. Go check out the True School merch on Teespring if you haven't done so already. But I wanted to give my thoughts on Lyndon Arthur versus Anthony Yarde because I haven't had a chance to really talk much about this fight between Lyndon Arthur and Anthony Yarde. There's a lot to dissect, a lot I want to say, so we're going to really camp out and set up shop talking about this particular topic. Let's start with Anthony Yarde because that's obviously the talk of the fight. Anthony Yarde, this fight going in, represented the second toughest opponent and it was a fight against Lyndon Arthur where we knew that from a domestic standpoint, Lyndon Arthur was a solid British level fighter. And we knew, and anybody who knew anything about boxing knew that even if you didn't think Lyndon Arthur was going to beat Anthony Yarde, you knew that at the very least he was going to be a live dog in this fight. He's long, he's rangy, he knows how to use his jab, he's got a solid jab. So you give him the chance. You give him a chance because Anthony Yarde's not necessarily a fighter who has the best jab himself. Anthony Yarde's not a fighter that necessarily uses the jab. He's more of a come forward, seek and destroy type of a fighter. But a jab isn't really a tool that he has much of, if we're being honest, if you watch most of his fights. So Anthony Yarde, I was very disappointed with him in this fight because Lyndon Arthur had some sort of injury with his right hand coming into the fight. So he was essentially a one-handed fighter. He was a one-handed fighter. He was a guy that pretty much was only going to have to use he was only going to be able to use his jab and his left hand to throw jabs, hooks, or uppercuts against Anthony Yarde. And that was pretty apparent even watching the fight from the fifth round. People started to realize, hey, Lyndon Arthur is not throwing his jab. The commentators started talking about it. It took about Tunde Ajayi about maybe 7 or 8 rounds to mention it to Anthony Yarde in the corner, but it became evident. And Anthony Yarde didn't have really a great night at the office against Lyndon Arthur because he got exposed for what he was. And that's a fighter with promising physical tools, because he's got those. He's got promising physical tools in spades. He showed glimpses of brilliance against Kovalev when he fought him, but he got exposed for what he is and for what he lacks. And that's, a fighter with lots of physical tools and ability, but he just lacks the fundamentals of boxing. He lacks those nuanced skills, that foundation that you get in the amateurs in this fight. And not even just that, even if you don't have, let's say, the best boxing skills or the best amateur foundation, at least being able to try to execute the basics of boxing or trying to use the jab to get closer to your opponent so you can land the punches you really want to land. That would have been something that would have been very great and advantageous and good for Anthony Yarde. But no, that's not going to happen because the reality is this, and I'm telling you the truth. Tunde Ajayi, Lions in the Camp, all that stuff, it's fostered a very delusional culture of boxing with Anthony Yarde. So much so to the point that Anthony Yarde, after the fight, was saying that this fight was a robbery, which it wasn't. I mean, I didn't score the fight, but I watched the whole thing. Anthony Yarde got it was a close fight. It could have went either way. If Anthony Yarde would have got the decision, I wouldn't have been upset about it, but I don't think he really deserved it, because the guy that was the ring general, the guy that controlled the fight, the guy that was picking him off with the jab the entire fight was Lyndon Arthur. And Lyndon Arthur, if anything, he deserves a bunch of credit, because this is a guy who was basically a one-handed fighter. All he had was his left hand, but the left hand was all he needed. And he knew how to use it. He knew how to pick Anthony Yarde off. He knew how to keep the fight at a slowed, controlled pace, which gave him the best chance to win. and he won. So all we can do on True School Sports is tip our cap to Lyndon Arthur. All we can do on True School Sports is say that Lyndon Arthur, maybe he was the diamond in the rough. Maybe the British boxing media and establishment is hyping up the wrong guy, because Anthony Yarde, for all the talk, for all the media press clippings that have come out about him, in the only 2 fights that truly mattered in his career, he's come up short. He's laid a goose egg. He has not been the fighter that people are expecting him to be. You know, against Kovalev and against Lyndon Arthur, the same thing beat him twice, which was a jab. He got put on his back in the 11th round from a Sergey Kovalev jab, and he was completely neutralized by the Lyndon Arthur jab. So when you see a common occurrence like this occur for a young fighter like Anthony Yarde, a young promising fighter like Anthony Yarde, so often in his career, you have to start to ask yourself the question, you know, what is he doing in the gym? You have to start looking at what are his habits in the gym, what's his trainer what's his trainer teaching him, and it goes back to what we've been saying for a long time here on True School Sports. Tunde Ajayi is not a good trainer, at least not at world level. Maybe he's gotten Anthony Yarde to a solid level domestically, so he deserves credit for that because Yarde did not have a long amateur career. He doesn't have that pedigree in the amateur ranks of boxing, so he does deserve some credit for taking Anthony Yarde to a certain level. But the world wants to see Anthony Yarde fulfill his potential, and we want to see Anthony Yarde make some waves on the world level, and that is not what's happening. The only 2 fights he had at world level, all of his flaws got exposed. His lack of stamina in the Kovalev fight got exposed. His lack of the understanding of how to defend the jab got exposed. The Lyndon Arthur fight, his lack of understanding of how to defend a jab got exposed. So it's just we're just gonna say it like this here on True School Sports, because this is the reality. This is the facts. You know, here on True School Sports, we speak the truth in love, and the reality is this: Anthony Yarde, if he stays with Tunde Ajayi any longer, he's wasting his boxing career. I really feel like he's wasting his boxing career, because he does have those athletic gifts. There's fighters that walk this earth that would love to wake up and have some of the physical attributes and the physical athletic ability of an Anthony Yarde, and they don't have that, and he has it, but it's not being properly harnessed, and it's not being properly molded and shaped and sculpted in the gym as far as his boxing skills go. And because of that, when he steps up, he's losing, and he's losing in ways that are embarrassing. I mean, embarrassing ways. Like the Kovalev fight, he gave a good account of himself, but he gassed out and he couldn't defend a jab, and he got put on his back with a jab. That's not a good way. That's not a good way to lose a fight. Then to lose to a one-handed fighter in a close fight is not a good way to lose either. So he's staying with this guy out of loyalty, right? And I understand that. Like Anthony is probably gonna want to honor his coach, and hey, I can't knock him for that. You know, that's an admirable quality, being loyalty. But the reality is this: when that bell rings and Anthony Yarde steps in the ring, Tunde Ajayi's not the one throwing the punches. Tunde Ajayi is just getting it. He's gonna give you his instructions. He's gonna tell you lines in the camp, all right? And you know, you're gonna be the one suffering for it. And eventually, you're gonna look up. If Anthony Yarde does not make a significant change to his corner very, very soon, he's gonna look up and be an 18-5 fighter who is gonna be looked at as a domestic British level hype job. That's the way he's trending right now, okay? And I don't want to see that for Anthony Yarde, because I like him. You know, I like watching him fight. I think he's got good ability, but he's got to get away from him, because Tunde Ajayi is a delusional trainer. You know, I don't want to call him a con man, but he's not teaching Anthony Yarde. He can't teach Anthony Yarde anything. And they have all these crazy methods of how they don't spar as often, and he thinks he's a know-it-all and he's above criticism. Because I watch his interviews real closely, Tunde Ajayi, and it's like he comes off as a guy who is above criticism. Like, you have high-level people in the sport of boxing giving you and your fighter constructive criticism, and you're acting like you're above criticism. So he's wasting his career. He really is. And, you know, looking at the rest of the light heavyweight scene, you know, you got the Joshua Buatsi fight out there for Yarde, and that's not even a fight that's of any interest really at this point in time, because Buatsi is levels above Anthony Yarde. I mean, I knew this for a long time, but now it's been really exposed over his last two big fights against Kovalev and Lyndon Arthur. So, this is a message to Anthony Yarde, you know, Lions in the camp. Get the hell away from Tunde Ajayi. And listen, if you don't want to get away from Tunde Ajayi and you want to stay loyal to him, there's a way around that too. You know, I think if you want to continue to keep Tunde Ajayi, then you need to sit down and have an honest man-to-man conversation. Just an honest man-to-man conversation and tell him, hey, man, I appreciate everything you've done for me, and I want to keep you around, and I think you still have a lot to offer me in the gym, but I want to bring in a new voice to kind of steer my career in the right direction, and you can still be along for the ride. And make Tunde an assistant trainer, and bring somebody who's been there and did it at the world level that can offer you some advice, you know, that can offer you some guidance in that corner when things get going tough, when these opponents like Lyndon Arthur and Sergey Kovalev and these top light heavyweight opponents start taking you to those deep, dark, and uncomfortable places. Because when they take you to those deep, dark, and uncomfortable places, you got to have that ability and the skills and the tools within your toolbox to get to the other side of those deep, dark, and uncomfortable places and rise victorious. And it's just not happening for Anthony Yarde. And I'm listening to his interviews, I'm listening to him talk, and Anthony Yarde is becoming a fighter that he's one of those fighters that you worry about in boxing. He's one of those fighters that, you know, and I always talk about this, and this is why I always worry about Devin Haney. You know, these fighters that haven't really accomplished anything and have the media telling them that they're this, that they're great, and that they're going to be this and that before they've ever accomplished anything. I think it's very worrying, because a lot of times in this day and age with Instagram and the ability to get instant gratification at the drop of a dime, fighters believe their own press clippings before they've really ever accomplished anything. And watching the post-fight interview and listening to Anthony Yarde speak, he has the body language of that type of guy. So don't waste your career, Anthony Yarde. You know, I know he's had a tough year. He's had family members that he's lost that passed away as part of this coronavirus thing that's going on. So I know it's not been the easiest year for him, so I'm not trying to take a shit on him or kick him while he's down. This is more of like a constructive criticism, and I'm speaking from a place of love. Tunde Ajayi deserves some respect for taking Anthony Yarde to the level he is at now, and he's positioned him in a great place to where he's relevant in boxing. He's relevant in the British boxing scene, and people are interested in his career. Whether they want to admit it or not, Tunde Ajayi has played a role in that, and he deserves credit, and he deserves a massive tip of the cap. But there comes a time in boxing and in life where even if somebody's your friend and you respect them and you work with them, you can't mix business with pleasure, and you got to be able to look at things objectively as a man, remove your emotions, be logical, be practical, be pragmatic, and say, hey, I got to get some help to improve me as a fighter so I can be the best Anthony Yarde in the ring. So, you know, hey, God bless the guy. You know, may he continue to have a successful career. Lyndon Arthur, man, hey, God bless him too, man. This is a guy that I'm sure was I don't know exactly what his problem was with his right hand. He didn't disclose what it was, but he said he had a problem with his right hand going into the fight. So I'm gonna assume it was an injury of some sort in camp. But he deserves credit because, you know, Anthony Yarde was a guy that a lot of people were picking to win this fight. And he was a guy that, you know, for the most part, unless you're really following up in your British boxing, a lot of people didn't know who Lyndon Arthur was. And now because of that win, a lot of people know who Lyndon Arthur is, and he's going to move up the ranks. And he's going to be somebody that might be challenging for a world title before we know it. So, you know, I think he deserves a lot of credit for gutting it out. He showed on this night that not only did he have the skill, but he had the character. He had it within his heart to grind out a win and show some championship medal. And even if it was at the domestic level and if it wasn't at the world level against Anthony Yarde, it's still the kind of performance as a fighter that when you have it at that stage of your career, it can give you a lot of confidence and it could spur you on to do better things. And I think Lyndon Arthur, you know, I think Lyndon Arthur deserves a lot of respect. This fight is just it's more than just about Anthony Yarde and Tunde Ajayi, because people are just making it out about Anthony Yarde and Tunde Ajayi, but Lyndon Arthur deserves a lot of credit for just his mentality, his ability to grind out a performance like that, and to show that, hey, you know, I got a very, very, very strong solid, competent, educated, intelligent left hand, you know, with my jab, with my ability to feint. So I'm super proud for Lyndon Arthur, and I'm happy for him. And I'm more happy that the judges got it right, because, you know, they had the 117, 111 scorecard against Lyndon Arthur. They gave it to Yarde, and then they had two 115, 114 scorecards. So credit goes to two of the three British judges. Ian John Lewis deserves to get his freaking T spiked, you know, and slip on an ice cube and break his back, because that was a horrible score. There's no way in hell Anthony Yarde won that fight 117, 111, and he needs to be thrown in the nearest prison in the UK for you know, for what you would call it, for basically being an imposter of a judge, you know. So leave your comments down below. You know, Anthony Yarde, he's wasting his career Tunde Ajayi at this point in time, and he needs to get some help. And that's the honest truth from True School Sports. So leave your comments down below. Take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.